right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to set this timer for 60 minutes. We're going to be talking about some motivation, some meditation, some inspiration. If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. Getting ourselves into that place where we utilize our mentality, our abilities inside of who we are, where we start believing in ourselves. So what kind of challenges are you facing off against today? What kind of things are you going through? What type of place is your mentality? What type of place is your ability? And how are you focusing? What is it that you're focusing into? What is it that you're focusing on? How is it that you're applying your energy? Where are you applying your energy? So we start looking at that ability inside of ourselves. We start looking at the ability to learn. We start looking at the ability to focus to the point where we start utilizing what we have inside of ourselves. And so as our challenges come along, as the things that we're facing off against, we also have the ability to overcome those challenges. We have the ability to put ourselves in a place where we focus to the point where what we're facing off against, we have the ability to overcome. And each day that we put ourselves in that place, each day that we give ourselves that ability, where we truly sit down with who we are on the inside, where we truly sit down with our mentality, is a blessing. And so how do we start utilizing that blessing that we have? How do we start utilizing the ability that we have inside of ourselves? How do we start to put ourselves in such a place that we're not actually seeking out motivation, yet becoming motivation? So that's a question that I ask myself every day. Have you asked yourself, is what I'm doing today, is it bringing me to a place where I am motivated, where I wake up on a daily basis asking the question, can I do this? Can I achieve this? Can I figure out a way to start to put myself in a place where there's rituals, where the things that I'm going through on a daily basis, I have the ability to overcome? And so that's a question we got to ask ourselves every day. What is it that you're doing today? What is it that you're working on? What is it that you're wanting to achieve? What is it that you want to dream, that you want to overcome? And how are you overcoming those challenges? How are you putting yourself in that kind of a place where what you're focused into, you're getting to overcome? And it's interesting because when we sit down inside, when we truly sit down inside of ourselves, where we sit down and we start to study, where we truly start to be who we are, where we start to write things down and start to become a student of our lives, when we truly start to do that, the challenges that we have, they start to appear. They start to show up. They start to ask us the questions that nobody else can. Ask us if we have the ability inside of ourselves that nobody else will go to. And each challenge that you face off against, each thing that you go through on a daily, each part of who you are on the inside and what you want to overcome, ends up happening from your mentality. It happens from your ability to see that it's possible. And the only way that we learn things is by experiencing them, by having them in front of us, by reading them, by writing, by speaking, by using those different skills that you have. And so how do you start to hone in on those skills? How do you start to put yourself on a page where the direction in which you're headed, the direction in which you're utilizing, the direction in which your mentality starts to head into? And it's inside of ourselves that we find that part of who we are. It's inside of our being that we start to overcome those kinds of challenges. And each day that we do that for ourselves, that we put ourselves in that kind of a place where our mentality starts to open up, where our true ability to put ourselves in an able mentality starts to open up. And so how are we starting to do that? How are we starting to give ourselves that kind of ability? And so I'd like to visit some things that may be able to help you to get there. And so one of those things that I enjoy myself, and I don't know about others, but is motivational speeches. I enjoy the fact to see where other people's mentality are, where other people's mentality is getting them the yields, where their ability to sit down and listen to things that are bringing them into a positive direction starts to open up. And so are you doing that for yourself? Are you bringing those people, say, in your professions that are bringing you closer to the ability for you to become that professional that you want to become? When do we ask ourselves, who are we seeking to focus on? What are we seeking to focus on? Where are we seeking to focus? And each of us has challenges. How do we overcome our challenges? How do we put ourselves in a place where we utilize them to the point where they no longer have the ability to stop us? And that is what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about a place inside of yourself where you give yourself the ability to overcome your challenges. I'm talking about a mentality inside of yourself where what you're working on, you get to overcome. I'm talking about when you focus to the point where you overcome your challenges in such a way that the vibration radiates outwards, where your reflection is that of motivation, where you are so focused on your grind, you're so focused on your goals, you're so focused on your abilities inside of yourself that you're not surprised in the results. And each of us can achieve that inside of themselves. Each of us can achieve that inside of who they are. They can achieve that inside of their mentality and their ability to focus to the point where the reflection can radiate outwards from within who you are. And see, a lot of people ignore that. They ignore that ability, that the reflection is what's important. That's what people see when they meet you. That's what people feel when they feel your vibration. And that's the way in which the universe starts to utilize your mentality. And that's the way the universe starts to utilize your ability. And so when we put ourselves in a place where we start to recognize universal law, we start to recognize things like Newton's third law of motion. For each action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Then what we're looking at as biblically would call, in the beginning, God saw that light was good. It divided it from the darkness. So how do we start to turn those into positive and negative forces in the universe? How do we start to utilize this universe in such a way that we have the ability to go from that kind of mentality? See, the world, the structure that we live in, the place, the things, is built on a certain kind of mentality. It's built on a mentality of good and bad. But yet I want to take you to a place beyond that. I want to take you to a place where you focus to the point where you can see past that, where you can put yourself in a place where you see the points before they even happen. And I want your mentality to start reaching that level where Oprah Winfrey came from. The place where each action is an equal and opposite reaction, where the mentality inside of yourself starts to open up, where the universe starts to ask you the questions instead of you asking the universe the questions. So are you doing that in your professions? Are you seeing the ability inside of yourself, inside of your mentalities? Are you seeing it inside of your being, inside of your vibrations? And so how do we start to do that? How do we start to get there? How do we start to, say, focus to the point where what we listen to actually brings us positivity? What we actually put out actually brings us positivity. And it's on multiple networks that people are listening to these speeches, from Periscope to YouTube to Facebook to Twitter to Instagram to podcasts. And so if you're putting yourself in a place where you're focusing to that point, then you get to keep the results. So if you're putting yourself in a place where you're utilizing what you have inside of you, and I mean not somebody else, they're going to seek you out and they're going to see that you are different, okay? Because when you truly who you are on the inside, people aren't going to know you. People that might thought they knew you, the minute you truly start being yourself, you truly start being who you are inside, you truly start being the one on your journey, on your path, who has your purpose, starts to open up. And so another way in which the ability to focus to that point is what you put down in front of yourself. If you look at a mountain and you want to climb the mountain, look to the top. And so how do you start to climb a mountain that other people would call impossible? How do you start to do that unless you put the preparation in place? How do you start to do that unless you put on your shoes? How do you start to do that unless you look to the top? So how do we start to look to the top? How do we start to put ourselves in a place where our preparation starts to open up? How do we start to put ourselves in a place where we start to see our journey on that level, where we start to see our path, our purpose on a level where we enjoy the journey that we're facing on? So let me go ahead and start inviting you to some of those ways that we can do that. That we can put it in front of ourselves, that we can write it in front of ourselves, that we can achieve it in front of ourselves. And so one of those ways is by what you put down, what you write down for yourself, how you face off against that. How do you tackle your challenges? How do you put yourself in a place where you put in front of you what it takes? And so as you're writing stuff down, watch as they start to turn positive. Watch as the thing that you put down that are both positive and negative start to become positive things in your life. Watch as they start to manifest and they start to overcome and they start to become who you are. And so are we doing that inside of ourselves? Are we truly giving ourselves that ability to focus to that level where we use our challenges and we overcome our challenges with who we are on the inside? And that's where the foundation lays. The person that you are, the person that you want to become, the person that you want to face off against, comes from you putting in the work, comes from you sitting down with yourself, comes from you having the ability inside of yourself to overcome your challenges. And it's when you start to believe in who you are, it's when you start to put yourself in a place where you start to overcome the challenges that you're facing off against today. Because each of us have challenges. Each of us have things that we got to work on. Each of us have things that are going to come up as difficulties. Seeking out the equation is up to you. The depth in which you seek the equation is the preparation that you put in place. So, are you focused to that level? Are you giving yourself that kind of ability? Are you giving yourself that kind of mentality? Are you giving yourself that kind of level of focus to where you have the ability to overcome your challenges? And that's what we write down. We write down the entire day. We write down the entire week. We first master the morning. We master the ability to start our days with ourselves. Start our days with time for you. Start your day with the ability inside of you. And we have that ability to get there for ourselves. It's not for somebody else that you start writing stuff down. It's when you sit down and you start to write everything that's going on your mind down, where you start to open your ability, where things start to become possible, where the things that you weren't able to complete yesterday start to become completed today. And it's up for you to find that place, to find that ability inside of yourself, where you start to use your skills, where you truly start to use what you're putting down, where when you see this here, it starts to happen. And so, are you doing that for yourself? Are you using that kind of skill? Maybe you might be. Maybe you might actually be journaling. Maybe you might be writing things down. Maybe you might be in that place. But how effectively are you doing that? How effectively are the things that you're wanting to achieve becoming possible? How effectively are they happening in your life? How effectively are you vibrating with that level where the things that aren't meant for you, those things that would hold you back from that place, start moving out of their way on their own? And so, are we doing that inside? Are we doing that on that level? Are we giving ourselves that ability to where we focus to a level where the reflection radiates outwards, where the ability inside of ourselves becomes, where the mentality has the ability to open it up? And so that's where writing stuff down starts to become important. Is when you start to believe in yourself, you start to believe in your ability, you start to believe that you can achieve your dreams. And so you got to allow positivity to take place, to take shape, to take form. Allow yourself to be like putty in that place. Allow yourself to have that ability to where what you're putting down in front of yourself is starting to be seen. That you know you have these kinds of challenges. When you work with these kinds of people, you have these kinds of results. And when you work through your challenges on that level, when you work through your challenges with that kind of ability, when you work through your challenges with that kind of focus and that kind of mentality, that you can achieve things that other people would call impossible. But you got to put it in front of yourself that you will, that your mentality is going to happen. That if it doesn't happen, if I can't find a way, I'm going to make a way. And that's the type of question I started to get asked to myself. Has there been anybody who's taught motivation, meditation, and inspiration? I wanted to become an inspiration in this world. I wanted to focus to the point where I utilized meditation, where I pulled the things of ancestors out into the now. I wanted to create a foundation in such a way that other people would become uplifted, that they knew it could be possible, that their mentality could open up, that their ability could open up, that they could believe in themselves to the point where they reflect outwards from a foundation of focus. So that's what you got to focus into. You got to put yourself in a place where your professions, your homes, your relationships, your companionships, the people that are around you start to see you for the person that you are. They start to see you for your level of focus. They start to see you for your level of manifestation. Hearing what I'm saying, my friends? Hearing what I'm saying? When you believe in yourself at that level, when you believe in your abilities within you, when you believe in your being, your vibration, your manifestation, that what you focus into, you get to keep. That you focus to the point where you see that. And I focus to that point. I want you to achieve it. And I remember being at Chrysler, and I remember being in a place where I started to sell, and I wanted to sell more. So I realized you just got to get a little more organized. Possibly writing things down so that you can organize them. Writing things down so you can have that ability. Writing things down so you can overcome your challenges. So that you can get to the place inside of who you are, where you believe in you. And so are you doing that for you? Are you giving yourself that place? Are you giving yourself your mentality, where you're giving yourself your ability, where what you're focusing in and you're focusing through, you get to overcome? And it's inside of ourselves that we go to get to that level. I'm telling you, when you sit down at that level inside of who you are, when you truly start to believe in yourself and you start to believe in your dreams, and you get to start to see things happen, and things that happened from the last few years start to happen today. It's because where's your foundation? What is it that you're working on? What is it that you're working through? Are you gaining access to an able mentality? Are you gaining access to an able ability? Are you gaining access to the mentality inside of yourself that gives you the ability to overcome your challenges? So are we focusing to that part of who we are? Are we focusing to that point inside of who we are? Are we finding that level to where we utilize that? And so how do you start to put yourself in a place where you only allow mentality to be positive? You got to learn how to overcome it with positive thinking, with positive ability, with positive mentality. And so how do we start to do it? How do we start to achieve it? How do we start to overcome those things that we face off against? It's within ourselves that we start to find it. There are other skills. We just talked about what we listen to. We just talked about what we write. But what about reading? What about putting ourselves in front of books? Finding things that bring you closer to that mentality. Finding things that open you up to expansion. that open you up to becoming more intelligent, that open you up to overcoming and believing, and what you put in front of yourself, the types of quotes that you read, the types of books that you read. Are you focused into the direction of mastery that you want to go in? Are you focusing on the things that you want to overcome, that you want to manifest, that you want to utilize? And so what is it that you read on a daily basis? What is it that you put in front of yourself and you just say, I'm going to give myself a little bit of time to grow from my mentality of focus, from my ability to focus to that level where what we're reading is important. See, there's many different skills. We've talked about what we listen to. We've talked about what we write. And now we're talking about what we read. What is it that you read on a daily basis? It's been said that CEOs read over 50 books a year. Do you give yourself time to at least read one a year, or two, or three, or even once a month? Do you sit down at that point where you're seeking that level of focus, where it becomes a part of your pattern, where it becomes a part of who you are, where it starts to open you up, and where your ability inside of yourself starts to overcome? And it's when we're doing that, it's when we're giving ourselves that kind of ability to what we're reading, what we are truly putting our mind to. What is it that you're putting your mentality into? What is it that you're focused on? What is it that you want to achieve and want to overcome? See, one of those things that I decided a while back was I'm going to get on top of my diet. I'm going to get on top of the point where I utilize what I have, where I put myself in a place where the ability becomes a set of organized tasks that are done on a daily basis. That no matter how the challenges come against me, I'm going to continue to be that type of person. Now let me inspire you to not be shaken by other people. Let me inspire you to read the words of Aristotle, of Plato, and of others. Let me inspire you to focus to the point where that's what you focus into, where you put yourself in a place where your mentality starts to open up, where you start to see the challenges and you start to see the ability to overcome those challenges, where you start to put yourself in a place where what you're reading really truly matters. And so sometimes we read quotes from people that are from thousands of years ago, and the mentality opens up. The ability inside of oneself opens up. A lot of people go back and they seek out biblical. And there is much, much more than just biblical quotes, my friends. There is abilities to see where mentalities that were on the face of the planet since beginning of writing were at. And they still apply today. They still apply within universal law. They still apply within biblical action. They still apply within mentality. So are you utilizing that? Are you utilizing those kind of gifts? Are you utilizing that kind of purpose? Are you utilizing that kind of ability inside of who you are, where you start to believe in yourself? Some of us look at poetry. Others look at science. Others look at history. It's all there. The quotes are within. The ability to unlock them is up to you. It's to see the universe in such a way that you see the gift that the universe has for you to focus into your positivity, for you to overcome your challenges, to put yourself in a place where your mentality starts to open up, where your ability inside of who you are truly starts to open up. And each of us has those kind of challenges to where they're seeking that out. They're seeking out that ability inside of who they are. And are you doing that for you? Or are you being the one who's not allowing yourself to put yourself in a place where you focus past the challenges? And so we look at how we can do it for ourselves. We got to focus to the point where we don't allow how other people's mentality stops us. Okay, you got to look at what positive things to yourself to move out of the way on their own. Truly. For each action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so, are we seeing that scientific proof in action? Are we seeing that positivity coming out? Are we seeing that ability inside of ourselves that we do the homework? That we sit down as that student studying outside of the classroom, where we're working on the external, where it gives us that ability to heat up in this universe, where the things that aren't meant for us have the ability to move out of their way on their own, because they can. They will. When you stop comparing yourself to other people, when you stop comparing yourself to other situations, when you start to put yourself in a place where your mentality starts to open up, that's when the ability inside of who you are truly starts to open up. It's when you put yourself on a page where your mentality starts to become a reflection, when it starts to become a part of who you are on the inside, when you focus to that level where you got what it takes, where you got what you believe in, what you manifest within this universe. So at that point, those things move out of the way, and those things fall off to the side, and they have the ability to allow you to grow. They give you the ability to allow your mentality to open up. They give you the ability for you to focus to the point where you manifest things in your world. Are you a creator? Are you a shaker? Are you a person in this world who wants to overcome challenges? Are you a person in this world who wants to believe in yourself, believe in your being, believe in your purpose, your path, your journey? If that's you, this channel is for you. This channel is for you. These networks, these podcasts, they're for you. Motivation, meditation, inspiration .yoga. That's my website. And so how do we utilize it? Guys, how do you start to go from an outwards journey to where it no longer has the ability to crush you? Because I know a lot of people out there feel crushed on the outside. I know a lot of people out there have been stopped by others because they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe in their ability. They don't believe in their mentality. They don't believe that they can overcome their challenges. And how do you start to do so? How do you start to put yourself in a place where you gain that place within the universe, within the universal mentality, within the universal ability? And so each day that we visit this, each day that we put ourselves in that place where we communicate different parts of this being, of this vibration, where we look at the fact that we are human beings, that we are meant to be present within ourselves, that when we utilize what we have inside, the ability to radiate outwards comes from within, my friends. Are you allowing that external vibration to be that of motivation to other people? When you are truly at that level of grind inside of yourself, when you're truly facing off against the things that are going on inside of you, the heat that's going on around you no longer has the ability to stop you. And it's when you believe at that level, the vibration inside of you starts to open up. It's when things that other people might have called impossible start to become overcome. It's when the mentality inside starts to radiate light outwards. Are we focusing to that level? Are we focusing to that ability? Are we finding that being inside of ourselves to where we focus to the point where we have the ability to overcome our challenges, where we have the ability to overcome the things that we go through, that we are universal through? And what I mean by that is, are you a tool in this universe? Are you a person who others seek out? Are you so unique that the gifts that you have, your mentality, opens up to where you truly start to head in the direction that's bringing you closer to yourself, that's bringing you closer to the person that you are inside, the one that truly matters, the one that speaks to you when you think thoughts, when you're in a place of vibration where your professions are fitting the lock, your beings are hitting the combos. And that's when you're in the place where focus becomes a foundation, my friends. Are you doing that for yourself? Are you giving yourself that ability? are you getting to that level of vibration within who you are? Now, at some point you got to get inwards, my friends. You got to get past those type of challenges. You got to get past those type of things that others would not be able to face off against. Those things that are inside of you, those emotions, those pains, those fears. Have the ability to move out of the way. When you focus to the point where you become the student inside, where the external no longer has the ability to crush you, when you start to sit down and you start to learn from your lessons inside of yourself, where you start to find that person inside of you, where you start to overcome those kind of challenges, where you start to put yourself on a page where what you're going through, you have the ability to learn. And are we learning from them? Are we truly learning from the lessons? Are we truly getting to the place inside of ourselves where our minds become sharp like students? Where we become such students of our lives that we see when the challenges come, that we can overcome them. That when we see the challenges come, we have the ability to get there for ourselves. And so each of us finds that part of ourselves where we're focusing to that level, where we're focusing to that mentality, where we're focusing to that ability inside of ourselves. See, each of us has a journey. We've had stories. We've had things to grow through and go through. And so, are we doing it? Are we achieving it? Are we finding that part inside of ourselves where we utilize a level that goes beyond where others would go? The part inside of yourself where you start to become a student of your life, where your journey becomes a joy to learn, where your journey becomes a joy to become, where your journey becomes a part of who you are inside. Are you gaining that kind of solid ground within you? Are you gaining that kind of solid ground within your mentality, within your ability, within who you are? And so, how do we start to get there within ourselves? How do we start to find that part of who we are? See, it's inside of your mentality that the energy starts to flow. It's inside of your ability that you start to recognize that things like red energy, the ability for you to stand your ground, start to open up. Like your human being starts to become present. You get to see yourself as the person you are. Your thought process starts to open up. Your ability to have patience with every single part of who you are. Your heart. The ability to understand, but also to voice your heart. And when we put ourselves in that kind of place, where we put ourselves through those kind of challenges within who we are, when we're willing to shut off the world, even for just a little bit of time, when we're willing to get into the point of our mentality, into the point of our ability, when we're able to focus to that level inside of ourselves, where we utilize the gifts that we have inside, and that the journey inside of ourselves, and we enter into that dark tunnel, believing in who we are, and when we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because we spent the time studying, we spent the time working, we spent the time on ourselves to the point where we start to understand ourselves. We understand our pains, our fears, our emotions, that we can overcome our pains, our fears, and emotions. Let them be students. Let you be the student that overcomes those through studying. Let you be the student inside of yourself who utilizes your nervous system, who utilizes your depth perception, who utilizes your ability to speak, and to speak your mind, and to truly be who you are on the inside. That kind of beauty that comes out from within oneself, who believes to that level, that they are that person, that they are on their journey, that they are on their path, that has that kind of mentality inside of who they are, is worth it. And so, how do you gain that kind of place where you overcome your pains, where you overcome your fears, where you overcome your emotions? By learning, my friends, how to. By learning how to go through it. How to put yourself on a place where you have the ability inside of yourself to overcome your challenges. Where you have the ability to be who you are on the inside. Where you have the ability to focus to the point where you believe in yourself. See, a lot of people want us to believe in them. When do you get to the point where you believe in yourself? When do you get to the point where you utilize what you have inside? Where you utilize your mentality, where you utilize your ability, where you utilize your focus and your being and your vibration. See, who we are on the inside matters to your journey. Who you are on the inside is the person that needs to be known. That journey that you are on, those people that you want to be around, those things that you want to go through and that you want to overcome, come from within you. They come from within your mentality. They come from your ability. They come when you're willing to face off against the challenges that nobody else can for you. When you're willing to put yourself on a page where you start to study yourself to the point where you gain the knowledge within you. So when you're on your journey and you're growing inside of yourself, which we always will be on, it's inside of oneself that the growth happens. It's inside of oneself that the understanding becomes. It's inside of oneself where the being opens up. And you're going to face off against things that are going to ask you if that knowledge is truly there. You're going to have people that are going to ask you, can you teach me what you know? Can you put yourself on a page where you believe in yourself to that level? Where you believe on yourself to that being, where you know inside of yourself that you have the capability to achieve your dreams? Can you put yourself on a page where you become that best in your professions, your homes, your companionships? Or what you're going through, you're growing. And so the growth inside is patience, my friends. It's a student inside of a classroom with a teacher that asks, did you gain the knowledge from what you're going through? A student inside with the teacher that asks you, can you achieve this? Can you start to become your best friend? Can you start to work on the pattern of you, the process of you, the journey of you? And you start to believe that you are special, that you can achieve amazing things, that you can do amazing things, that you can become amazing things. And when that heat comes against you, when you know with that kind of knowledge inside of yourself, with that kind of being inside of who you are, with that kind of purpose to overcome your challenges, then you focus to the point where you utilize what you have inside. You focus to the point where the knowledge opens up, where the ability inside of oneself becomes a manifestation. And when you vibrate with that kind of understanding, when you vibrate with that kind of being inside of who you are, when you vibrate with that kind of reflection, people start to ask you the question, are you a reflection of meditation? Are you in your fields utilizing that knowledge? Are you utilizing that purpose? Are you gaining that kind of universal yield where your knowledge is what you're achieving? See, knowledge is freedom, my friends. It's a liberation to gain the knowledge from the lessons. It's a liberation to gain access to the being. It's a liberation to gain access to the purpose, the path, the journey that you're on. And a lot of people are stopped from that. They're stopped from that ability to use the gifts that they have, the challenges that they face off against, and they don't even give themselves the time to decompress them. They don't give themselves the time to get inwards to that point where they believe in themselves. So how do we start to utilize a mentality within who we are? How do we start to utilize an ability inside of ourselves, an ability inside of our being, inside of our purpose, inside of our paths, inside of our journeys, to the point where we start to become that? See, that's what I'm talking about today. When you know it, when you truly know you can do it, when you believe in yourself to that level, that's when you start to apply it. Are you applying it in your life today? Are you putting yourself in a place where your knowledge is starting to be used? Your purpose, your path, your journey is starting to be used? Your being, the very essence of your vibration, where you're overcoming your challenges, where your understanding starts to open up. So let's go ahead and start applying it. Let's go ahead and take that whole being and put it together in such a way that our focus and our knowledge starts to hit a level, where our focus and our knowledge starts to become center, where our focus and our knowledge makes you the discipline, where you start to become that discipline that the universe starts to recognize you. The universe starts to see you. The people that are the differences are different than you because you are you, because you are being yourself, because you are being the light that you have inside, that you are being the understanding inside of yourself, that you are being the purpose inside of your journey, that you have a place inside of who you are, that you can focus to the point where you achieve your dreams, where your goals, your manifestations, your purpose, your path, your journey starts to open up. And so, are we focusing to that point? Are we gaining access to that being? Are we gaining access to that journey where knowledge and focus becomes centered, where it truly becomes centered, where we see these people that have achieved that level of high vibration, where they become the best in their fields, the best in their professions, the best in their understandings? So are we gaining that level inside of ourselves where we have that place of observation, that such discipline can radiate outwards, that such discipline can come from within, that such discipline can overcome challenges and can see things that nobody else could inside of you? And so how do we start to believe at that level where we become an inspiration? How do we start to believe at that level where we start to overcome, where we start to manifest, where we start to vibrate from within? And you see, each of us have it inside of ourselves. When we become that disciplined, it uplifts other people. It finds ways for the universe to start working in a direction. It finds ways for the wind to turn in your direction. A lot of us fight that knowledge and focus within ourselves until we start to recognize that it's there for you. It's within you. It works on you. And so how do you start to do that? How do you start to give yourself that place? How do you start to give yourself that part of who you are? And it happens when you believe in yourself. It happens when you use your knowledge. It happens when you become centered inside of who you are. And each of us has it. Each of us has the challenges inside of themselves where we ask ourselves those type of questions, where we ask ourselves that part of who we are, where we start to ask ourselves part of our being, our very vibration. And it takes from within that it starts to radiate outwards. It takes from within that it starts to vibrate. And when you give yourself that kind of time to become a disciplined person, to become somebody who sits down just a little bit, just gives themselves a little bit of time, it inspires other people. It uplifts other people. It gives you the ability to truly be who you are on the inside, to truly face off against your journey, to face off against your path, to face off against your purpose. And when you manifest that level of depth, my friends, the whole being becomes a vibration. So are we doing that? Are we sitting down at a level inside of ourselves where we're starting to understand that whole entire process, that whole entire being is worth it, that whole entire purpose is there for you? So a lot of people ask me, I don't know how to meditate. Sit down with a pen and paper. Study yourself. Get to the place of discipline. Sit down inside of oneself. Ask one question. Can I breathe? Can I be? Can I vibrate? Can I turn my day into meditation? Turn your being into the purpose. Turn your being into the path. Turn your being into the journey that you want to live, that you want to dream, the things that you want to overcome, my friends. That is meditation. So when do we get disciplined to the point where other people see us as that? The universe will yield on its own. It will find a way to you. If you're working truly on that level, if you're truly in your professions and you want to reach that top in your sales or your homes or your art forms, it's when you're focused to the point where you're disciplined that it opens up. It's when you're focused to the point where you're utilizing what you have inside, when you're utilizing your mentality, when you're utilizing your ability. It's when you're focused to the point where what you believe in and what you want to achieve becomes possible. Are we doing that? Are we becoming that? Are we truly sitting down at a level where discipline centers oneself, where we become the classrooms, where we become the student, where we become the teacher of our own lives? And how do we utilize our energy to that level? How do we utilize our energy to that being? It requires patience and observation. How do you sit down and study? How do you get a degree? How do you get a purpose in your path and in your journey? You've got to give yourself that kind of time. You got to give yourself that kind of place, and you got to give yourself that kind of patience to be who you want to be, to achieve what you want to achieve, to believe in yourself to a level where nobody else is willing to go. And so as we do that, other people become uplifted. As we put ourselves at that place inside of who we are, where we start to believe to that level, that's when things start to become possible. I've seen many people call themselves strong till they bring them inside of the sauna and I sit down and do meditation past the first hour. I've seen many people say that, and I know that when you're patient, it doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen in 1 week. But if you continue to push at the things you want to achieve, then at a certain point people see you as that discipline. Are we believing in that degree inside of ourselves? Are we believing on that purpose, that path, that journey that we're on? Are we putting ourselves on a mentality where we're utilizing a level of discipline that uplifts other people? See, when you are yourself, when you truly are who you are, when you truly are going through your challenges and you're putting yourself on a part of your mentality where you don't need to take from other people. You got to be who you are. You got to be who you are on the inside. You got to be who you are in your vibration. You got to be who you are in your mentality. And you got to be who you are on your purpose. So are you doing that for yourselves? Are you truly giving yourself that ability to find that person that you are? To find that path that you're on? To find that purpose, that journey, as a place of discipline? After all, you're worthy of your discipline. You are worthy of your path. You have been on the face of the planet. You have been on the face of the planet going through challenges, going through things that you want to go through, that things that come up against you. When do you start to become that level of discipline inside of yourself? So each of us, we're finding that kind of place to be worth it. Huh? Wouldn't you say believing in yourself is worth it? Believing in your being, your vibration, that you're worth it. It's when that mentality opens up that the ability inside of oneself starts to overcome. It's inside of that mentality that that ability inside of ourselves starts to become. Okay. I also do energy readings. Blessings.
Hey Marcel, how are we doing?
Blessed.
Blessed indeed. Blessed.
So we're talking about focus and knowledge and discipline. So did you apply some of those things that I shared with you?
Oh, I've done more than that.
That's a very good thing. It's when we think positive and we put ourselves in places that we allow the poisons to leave. And see, a lot of people poison themselves.
Indeed. Yeah, it's focusing on the positive, and you don't even have to let go of it. of the stuff. I mean, the positive, it attracts more positivity around it. It works great.
Well, yeah, the thing is that we never truly forgive. There's no such thing as true forgiveness. The reason why is because as long as the knowledge has been learned, it comes down to the understanding that that was either a positive thing or a negative thing. So there's no necessary need for things like hatred, because those are negative forces, and and everything is energy on the face of the planet. And so it's just once we find that and start to understand those type of things that we start to want to let other people have their own journey and their own path.
Yeah.
And so,
and you know, it's so nice to be on a journey together. Like one is going one way, but I really like them, and I'm going the other way. I say, hey, come on, let's go this way. But they're kind of, yeah, no, I'm going this way. But come on, it's so fun together, you know. But you know they're going the other way, but still you want to be together, and then you just say, okay, well, maybe see you next time around because I'm going this way, and you just let go. There's no hatred. There's no, love that you have to hold on to or
see,
anything. No,
all
it's just
emotions come from knowledge. All emotions come from knowledge. So gaining access to the knowledge behind the emotion teaches the lesson from it. So when we truly learn the lessons that we're meant to learn, it makes us like students in this life. So when we start to study the emotions, the layers of them start to fall off and the true knowledge. And so care comes from the knowledge. And when somebody sees you as a positive force in the universe, they care about you. And so when they see you as a positive force in the universe, that's when the ability for amazing things to open up in our mentality. And see, a lot of people disable their minds from achieving their own dreams and their own goals because they don't see that page.
I understand.
It's when we free ourselves to use that knowledge and that focus to that point where we become disciplined that we see past all of those.
I have a question then.
Huh.
Like, you do have the free will to choose your path, to choose the things you want in life and desire maybe. But once you do that, you always have this confrontation with the things that kind of are holding you back, like
that only happens when you allow emotion to be the thing that runs you. When you allow focus to become the thing that creates your foundation, then you start working with the hardest trait on the face of the planet, which is self-honesty.
Yeah, that's true. But I just, yeah, that's true. And not but. And there is still that part of, that material that sticks to you, like the love of the past or something. Those things, they're there, and that's okay. But it's just a question of then, if necessary, explaining, but doing your own thing.
Everybody has got to find a place to decompress themselves. We find that in gyms, we find that in meditation, we find that in multiple places. It's finding that decompression and focusing into that helps to overcome those kinds of challenges. And there's many skills. There's the ability to write, sing, listen, speak, feel touch. It's so many different ways that you can decompress that knowledge inside. Run even. That is.
Or communicate.
Exactly, or communicate yourself clearly. That is a part of that decompression process. And so a lot of people, they ask me, because I have a network on Facebook called Discipline 101, Motivation, Meditation, Inspiration. And a lot of people constantly come in there asking, I would like to learn meditation. I'm like, okay. And it's so much bigger than just sitting down and breathing. It actually has more to do with the mentality and the freeing of one's mind. And so, like, I'll see other people that think they're super strong And then I see that they're not patient with themselves. Their observation is not in place. Their centering within their being is not in a place. They're trying to go for certain things. And in the world of meditation, one of those places where people try to go for is called breath of fire. Well, they focus so much energy into the breath of fire that they forget about their depth perception, their nervous system. And so when we give ourselves patience, we observe. And I remember when I was going through times inside the sauna where I would be meditating, and other people would say they would come inside the sauna to sit down, and they would leave within an hour, where I was able to stay in a sauna for 5 hours. Do you get what I'm saying? It's patience with yourself that allows you to observe. It's when you start to study yourself that you start to open up. And each person is a discipline. So everything that you're going through, every challenge that you're facing off against, that is your centering. This is your classroom. In this journey, it's not outside of this classroom. It's right here in front of you. Your own self is your classroom. And it's when you become disciplined to that point where you don't allow those other things to affect that classroom, which a lot of them do, that we start to find ourselves. And that's why self-honesty is the hardest trait to work with. Because when you start to do that, the universe starts to say, oh, I don't know if you can do this. Let's go ahead and see if this test is going to come by. Are you going to be able to stay positive through it? Are you going to be able to see this page? And see, that's the mentality of creating a vibration in which you have a true foundation, which is on your own self. And you know what happens when you're focused on your own things? People around you don't know you any longer. You know why? Because when you become nothing less than you, when you become just yourself, the vibration that other people see around you isn't the thing that they saw. They don't see that good and bad person. They see somebody who is a reckoning within the universe, who is an actual blessing within the universe, who uses their gifts and their talents and their skills in such a way that the universe yields. See?
I say yes. It's true. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think that's also letting go of your own picture about yourself.
well, see, that's the only one that truly matters.
Yeah.
The only one that truly matters is the one that you see of you. You only live in you. You can only live in you. You can only compare yourself to you.
You can only compare yourself to the you of yesterday.
Well, you can't necessarily compare yourself to the you of yesterday. You can only compare yourself to the you that's right now. Because the person that you are right now is at this moment. You can't go back to that moment you were before. That time is gone.
That's true. I mean, we are inventing time as we go along.
Yeah. So if you can yet embrace that and use the ability to...
I gotta feed the cats.
All right. Blessings.
Carry on.
If you can embrace that part of yourself and you can see that ability inside of who you are, you may close it out. Calling back.
They've been so...
I'm on multiple platforms, so I can't have really additional distraction from it. So when we put ourselves in that kind of a place where we utilize that ability inside of who we are, the mentality starts to become an inspiration. When you inspire other people to believe in themselves by being who you are, that is true inspiration, my friends. That is a true ability for us to be who we are on the inside. It's a true ability for us to face off against what we're facing off against. It's a true ability for us to overcome our challenges and to believe in ourselves. Each of you can do that. Each of you can achieve that. Each of you can overcome those kind of challenges, and you can find that kind of mentality inside of who you are. Inside of your being is a journey, a path, a purpose. And it's when you find that path that other people become uplifted and lightened their loads by hearing what stories and journeys you're on. And when you share those things, those ways you overcame them, when you get to that place of discipline where it radiates as a reflection of inspiration, that's when the light starts to happen around you, and that's when the light starts to happen from within you. And that's what this journey is about. It's about caring about yourself to the point where you radiate with that kind of light. It's about caring about yourself to the ability where you believe in yourselves. And that is what it means to be self-care.